Hi, I'm Mike with House on the Mend. Is this a familiar sound in your home? Mom, what's for dinner? If it is, then you may have some scratches and areas of your wall where the plaster is chipped away. It's a part of life. We're going to fix that today. So let's zoom in a little bit and we'll get started. All right. The two areas we're going to be focusing on for this video are the areas where the plaster is actually chipped away. These other areas here will fill in a little bit, but can mostly be remedied with paint. So to start with, we just want to clean the area up a little bit. In this sense, we don't need to do any sanding or anything like that. We'll get any sanding and smoothing done once the spackling dries. So to clean the area, we're going to use naphtha. It's a very nice cleaner, a little milder than mineral spirits in my opinion, at least on paint and things like that. So we'll open that up. We won't need very much at all. And we're just going to wipe off the areas surrounding here so we get good adhesion with the spackling. You're in a kitchen, you're going to have cooking grease, you're going to have food particles, other things that just naturally collect around that area over time. So we're just going to wipe that away so that we have the best chance for really good adhesion from the spackling. Now, the spackling I'm using is actually a vinyl, which is a little thicker and more dense than the average spackling that's used to join two pieces of wall joint compound or to patch holes and things. If you go to the local hardware store and you pick up one that's vinyl and you pick up the regular spackling, you'll notice the regular spackling is very lightweight. That's really good for small little divots like this, filling up holes from nails. But when you have bigger areas like this that have been chipped away, you want to use the vinyl spackling because it's a little stronger, thicker and stronger. The only trade-off is it takes longer to dry. All right, so let's get a little of this out here. We're going to use this big knife here in just a minute, but I'm going to start just a little bit in this spot. Get that going. We need the most right here. Obviously, it's a pretty big divot. And the rest will come along like this and work into that corner area. All right. Now, I use this small little putty knife to get the spackling in there. But when it comes time to feather out, we want to use a bigger knife like this. That way we've got more of the uninjured surface area to rest the knife against. And that'll help us get a good, clean stroke across that fills in the hole and makes it quite smooth. For this one, I'm going to rest this knife against the wall, and I'm going to kind of come down at an angle this way. That way I can keep against the corner, not pressing against the corner that would divot in, pressing mostly back out here to help me make a nice smooth slide there, like that. And that fills in pretty good. All right. And here we're going to go up on the bottom side once, and let's come up here and surface off the top. And this little sharp edge I'm going to dull down with my finger before we're done, because that's looking pretty good. Let's come in here and give just a little bit on this edge because we got bare metal there. Same thing. Focus on the back with our pressure and just slide right up like that. I like to come in with my finger here and a towel. Look for any high areas on the outside that we could take care of now, and then when you come to these sharp points here, you can just kind of round it over with your finger. All right? All right, now we're going to let this dry for 24 hours at least, depending on how much you put on. It may even need to go longer. And then we can prep the area, meaning sand it and prime it. And then if the homeowner has the same color paint, we can come and just touch it up right after that. All right, our spackling is all dry. Now we just need to do some very light sanding and get ready to put on some primer. And when I'm doing small sanding jobs like these, I really like to use these sanding pads. I have a couple examples here. This little thin one will be perfect for this wall because it's not going to take much on a flat wall or this little corner to just get it smoothed out. And while we're sanding, we want to make sure we're looking for low spots that would be too much for paint even to cover. And I actually found a little spot right here that when it dried, because when spackling dries and the moisture leaves, it condenses. And I found a spot here that was just a little too low for my taste. So I put another coat on, which is not unusual, and let that dry. So now we're ready to sand. I like to clean as I go and keep my work area clean. So this is just a regular grocery bag. Put a little tape on, and then when I sand, most of it falls right into the bag. It's a great way to help speed up cleanup afterwards. So we're just going to use a real light touch on this wall since it's not very high. There aren't any really areas that we need to work, like if we were trying to round a corner or something like that. So just a little bit of gentle sanding. Just to blend in these edges. Good. All right, that looks pretty good, nice and smooth. No real low spots that I'm concerned of, so I think we're good. Got a little cloth here that's just got a very, very mild touch of dampness. You could use a tack cloth, which are great. You could also just vacuum the area off, which works equally well. I'm just going to wipe away that sawdust from this area, or sanding spackle dust from this area, and now we're ready to go. All right, I'm going to be using a primer for these areas, and then we'll obviously, once that dries, we'll come over this area with the same color paint if we can find it from the homeowner. I like Kills, it's nice and thick. I pre-mixed it out in the garage, so I always keep it closed though, so we get the most life out of it. One of the things I like about Kills is it's low odor, zero VOC, and those are organic compounds that they put in it that create a lot of fumes. Modern paints nowadays are getting away from VOC, so you'll see that quite often in good premium paint. All right, so it's not going to take very much to cover these little areas. But what I like to do is start right from the primer in mimicking the texture that's on the wall. So rather than brush stroking, which could cause streaks that looks really nice when they're desirable, such as painting on trim or painting on doors, when I put primer on a wall like this that's been textured, I like to just start dabbing it. And we'll come back and blend that in a little bit better, but you can see when you dab as opposed to brushing, you start mimicking the texture that's already on the wall. That's nice and blended there. Any thick spots you see, go ahead and spread those out. We'll let it dry a lot faster if we're not waiting for really thick spots to dry. And there we go. Next step will be to get with the homeowner and locate this same color if they have it. Otherwise, we'll have to go to the store and color match it and paint over these areas once the primer dries. All right. Well, this primer's dried. And while that was happening, a nice big cloud moved overhead, so excuse my shadows, I'm going to try to stay out of the area. But I managed to find a 5-gallon bucket of the original paint that the homeowner had used for the kitchen, the bathrooms, and the laundry room. So it was a great find. We didn't have to go out and try to color match and buy more paint. We had the original color. Every ingredient, however, it separated in that bucket as to be expected. So thankfully, I had my drill and a mixing attachment for that. This will save you mountains of time mixing paint. All right, to get this same effect on the paint, I like to use rollers because it gives you this nice texture, or it mimics the same texture really well. However, I have noticed that you have to cover much larger areas with a roller, even with a smaller roller. So instead, I'm going to take my brush, and just like we did with the primer, I'm going to dab and go around here. It may take a couple coats, but it won't leave such a big area to draw your eye's attention to. Worst case scenario, if you get going and it just doesn't look right, you can, mask off that part of the wall and paint the whole wall with a roller. But we're going to try to save a lot of time by not doing that and just using some of our paintbrush skills. So I got the paint right below us here that I mixed. I also tested the color with a Q-tip in another section of the house and checked the color, and it was a perfect match. So I'm really optimistic that we're going to be able to, in a coat or two, get this whole area covered up. As you can see, instead of brushing again, I'm just dabbing, and that helps to give us the texture that we're looking for that these walls already had. And we'll know once the paint dries just how good of a color match we have going on here. It always goes on a slightly different shade, usually a little lighter when it's wet, and then when it dries it darkens up a little. Well, that's looking pretty good. All right, we're going to give that some time to dry, and we'll check and see how well the color matches. Well, we're all done. It turned out great. We patched the hole right here in this area, put some more spackling in some other areas that had been damaged, primed it, color matched it. I think it turned out really well. Now you know the steps it takes to complete a project such as this. If you find it a little too daunting for your skills, however, I understand. And if you're in the Las Vegas area, consider giving me a call. I'd be happy to come repair this for you. Until next time, thank you for watching.